going on to all my Moon Knight fans out there, and welcome back to my channel, Movie Files. Elliot here today to break down this fifth and very heavy-hearted episode of Moon Knight. We're breaking it all down, recapping it, spoiling everything, sharing some theories I have with you all here in this breakdown review. Before we get into today's discussion, make sure you're checking me out on all my other social media accounts. If you all are new to the channel and love early movie reviews, TV breakdowns, and live streams, well, come and join the community today by subscribing and hitting that notification bell. As you all can see on the screen now, if you enjoy what I had to say about this fifth episode of Moon Knight, well, make sure you all are liking this review as well as sharing it, but more importantly, share your thoughts in the comments. Listen, let me know if I was only one tearing up watching this episode, man. I mean, this was mind-bending. This was just tugging at the heartstrings. This might be the most emotional episode of a Disney Plus show that I've ever seen. I'm going to put it up there. I don't know, between this and the WandaVision one, I don't know. Let me know you guys' thoughts. This is a fantastic episode. I was not expecting to get this emotional connected, especially to Steven, but we're going to get into it. But I want to know your thoughts in the comments. And what happens in next week's finale? How do we figure this out? How do we end this series? Let's talk about it in the comments. But before we get into my thoughts, just a friendly reminder, I'm pre-recording this. I've had a pretty chaotic day, so by the time this video is out, we would have already had our live stream really breaking down this fifth episode, myself and Amanda and Chris. We also will be talking about CinemaCon, Disney news, the stuff going on with the Spider-Man verse, all the stuff going on with Doctor Strange, so definitely check out that stream if you didn't too. If you didn't get a chance to, I'll leave the link in the description of this video. But look, let's get into my thoughts on this fifth episode, just my initial impressions. Like I mentioned, I think between this episode and I want to say it was episode 8, or it might have been 7 or 8, I think it was 8, of WandaVision, when we see Wanda talking to Vision about grief, about her tragedies, what she went through, and just kind of going through that traumatic past. That was very emotionally connective, and that was like the most emotions I've had in a Disney Plus show, but I think this episode might be there with it. And it's kind of funny that this is the second to last episode and it was the most emotional. Same with WandaVision. Wow, I mean, I've been saying it all season. Oscar Isaac has been fantastic, but the writing in this episode, the traumatic stuff we see Mark, what he went through as a child, the abuse, how he created Steven, how Jacob might be in this scenario, or Jake Lockley. There's a lot to dive into, and let's get into it. Are you all ready? Do you have your box of tissues? Let's get into the recap here. Full spoilers ahead as we open the episode with a woman yelling at a young boy that it's all his fault. We're going to get to him and his relationship with his mother, which was absolutely heartbreaking. But in this moment here, we cut to Mark being told by Dr. Hero that his brain is like a pendulum. He goes back and forth. There's a lot of trauma that's going on in his life, and he created what he called organizing principles, which again kind of helps him go throughout these traumatic events that he went through, especially as a kid. And again, when we get to those scenes, I'm going to try not to cry because it was very emotional. But getting back into the conversation, as Mark has this, I don't know if you all noticed, it was a slightly different tone or pitch in Mark's voice. Again, we've been hinting at a third personality. We didn't get the reveal. I assume it's going to come next week, if at all. Again, assuming that it's Jake. Could be another character that Moon Knight has created, but I'm assuming we might have saw Jake in that moment. And I think Jake comes out when there is physicality involved, inflicted on Mark. I think we'll talk about that a little bit later, but let me know if you all caught that kind of different accent that we got from Mark talking to Dr. Hero. We see that they knock Mark out, which enables him to go back to the room with Mark, Steven, and the hippopotamus. This is where we get the explanation of the realm of Duat and the underworld, and this is where Tora Wet mentions a little Black Panther nod there. We got a couple Black Panther nods in a couple other episodes of this series, but she talks about the ancestral plane, which again, I wonder if there is any other connective tissues or connective ties to the Black Panther universe. And I don't know, will a Moon Knight appear in a Black Panther 2 or future movies of Black Panther? That would be pretty cool. Let me know your thoughts on that Easter egg. As we get back into the conversation, Mark opens the doors to the underworld, headed to the land of Reeves if their life is balanced, and she takes their hearts, she puts it on the scales, and their mission in this episode is to find the balance in their life. Unfortunately, that balance involves one of these personalities being on the dooms, and we'll talk about that in a second. But time to balance their hearts, as their hearts aren't full, they're incomplete, and it's time to reveal their truths. As we see a particular scene of one of the personalities standing in the street, but they're not aware of what that scene is till a little bit later in the episode, we go into this area where we see a bunch of dead people, which again, this show, the last 2 episodes have touched on the horror, supernatural elements, which I really appreciate, but all of these bodies are the victims of vengeance, of Moon Knight, of what Mark has been told by Kanju to take out these people that were evil, that were bad, and just seeing their faces. And a little bit later when we see the sand faces coming apart, I really give this show kudos to attempting to push the envelope. It didn't go all the way to those daredevil moments that I was expecting from this series to kind of really go to that more mature nature of these characters. But I'm appreciating them taking the steps, and hopefully these steps lead to future supernatural steps for a Blade, for a, Ghost Rider, and all the other supernatural characters in the MCU. We're getting there, and I appreciate it. But let's get back into the conversation as we see a little boy, which Steven follows and leaves Mark behind. And this is where we find out about Mark's past as a young boy. As we break down this scene here, we see that Mark and his brother Randall enter a cave, and unfortunately his brother dies in this cave. He's drowned, and this is where we really see the disconnect between Mark, Steven, and their mother, because his mother blames him for everything that just happened and losing her son. She blames him for everything. We see this kind of montage of throughout the years, Mark's mom and Steven's mom, she just ignores him. She's abandoned him again. She puts all the blame on this young man's shoulders. He didn't try to kill his kid. It's just kids being kids. And unfortunately, that accident happened, but it fractured their relationship, which in return fractured what actually is going on internally with Mark. And we'll get to the creation of Steven here in a bit. But we see Mark leaving as a teen, as Steven doesn't remember any of this side of his mother. We head back to what happened to Lila's dad, as we got a little bit of that conversation last week that it was Bushman, which is involved in the comics, was the kind of partner of Marc Spector. He got greedy. He took advantage of situations, killed all the people there, including tried to attempt to kill Mark. And this is where we talk about origins. This is where Kanju manipulates, takes advantage of Marc Spector, and has him, as we see Mark kind of crawling up to the temples. He's going to take his own life. And this is where we see Kanju come in and tell him, I can spare your life. I can give you another purpose. I can make you the hands of vengeance. Do you vow to me? And this is where we see Mark accepts this new vow to become the vengeance of Kanju. And we go into a really beautiful scene here in regards to seeing the underworld. Number one, I didn't even mention it earlier. We're on the boat and the purples and the sand. The visual effects were beautiful in this scene. But getting back to the actual scene here, there's fear in the underworld, and there's a lot of unbalancing going on. And we see that the hippo god is trying to steer the ship and try to get things going. And we see Mark and Steven convinces her, hey, we need to get back. We need to stop what Ahmed's doing and what Arthur's doing. Can you help us out? And she's trying to say, help them at the same time. She says, hey, you need to figure out the truth. Once we do that, we can get things solved. So now it's time to go back and find out what exactly happened to get Mark to snap, to really create these personalities. This is where things get tough. Now, as we get back into that behind the door, we see that Mark doesn't want Steven to see what's behind that door, and he snaps. We see him head back to Hero's office. They have a conversation. We see that Hero convinces Mark to allow Steven in, and this is where we get into the actual scene. We see the origins of Steven while their mom is trying to break into the room. He has made up this in his head in regards to a defense mechanism. This is where Mark creates Steven, and we see his mom comes in. She has the belt. And this is where I think I mentioned how I think we got Jake a little bit earlier in the episode, but I think it's in this moment because we see Steven comes out, he sees the movie poster, he has the British accent, but we don't see if it's Steven the one that's getting abused. I think that's where Jake's coming in. I think Jake is the character that endures the pain that was put upon Steven, Mark, and Jake is that person that does that. And again, it's not verified, it's not confirmed, but I think that's where Jake comes in. He's the one that takes on all that stuff. And again, just my little bit of knowledge of Jake's in the comments, he's the one that's on the streets. He's the one that's kind of hearing all the local stuff. So they're adding a little bit more layers. And I'm not saying there's more layers in the comics, but they're adding this kind of sense sensibility to the character. If this theory of mine is to be true, that Jake is the one that takes the abuse, let me know what you all think about that. Marc explains why he created Steven and reveals that their mother is not alive. And this is where Steven snaps, goes back into Hero's office. He gets into the conversation that this is why they ended up in the mental ward, because Steven couldn't just bear the idea of losing his mom. But he had a different perception. He had a different experience with a mom. He witnessed all the good stuff whenever there was any between him and his mom. He doesn't remember any of the bad stuff, which they go back into the memory. And this is the moment where we see Marc was the one in the streets. He couldn't go inside of his mom's Shiva. We see him crying in the streets, and this is where Steven pops up, doesn't know where he is. He tries to call his mom. And this is the point when I was getting teary-eyed, because not to get too involved in my personal life, but I have had someone very close to me. I'll just say I had a really great relationship with my mom. She's still here, on earth, but we definitely don't have the same type of relationship. And the reason I kind of related to that is because, again, just kind of imagining the good side of a person you love, the bad side, and it's just kind of all kind of hit me at once. And just seeing Steven go through that and creating that defense mechanism is just a powerful moment. It's one of the most powerful moments in the MCU. Again, I got a little teary-eyed. I have no shame in that. Let me know where you all were at that emotional point and just seeing. And I have been kind of critical on Steven. I haven't been the biggest fan of Steven, but it's in this moment and a moment a little bit later. He's a great character. I'm not going to lie. They built the respect for me. I'm a Steven fan. But let's get back into the actual conversation before we get all teary-eyed. They don't make it in time, and the souls are being collected. As Marc fights, we see Steven kind of comes in, the baseball bat. I don't know, again, knowing that Jake has some connections to wearing baseball caps and all that stuff. I don't know if that is an allusion or an Easter egg to Jake. But we see that they take, Steven steps up, takes out all the lost souls, which, by the way, the look of the sand coming off their face, he helps them, but then one more lost soul comes aboard, tries to take down Marc, and this is where Steven sacrifices himself, pushes them off, they fall off the boat. Unfortunately, this is where the balancing happens. There's a balance between what's going on. That's because Marc has now, he didn't want to, but we see Steven's lost in the sand, in the dunes, and he's in prison. He's locked in there. I don't think we're going to get Steven again, which if you would have said that 3 or 4 episodes ago, I would have been like, yes, take Steven away. I'm not a fan of him, but now I'm like, damn, I want more Steven. That really kind of got to me there as we end the episode with the balancing occurring, and we see Marc has arrived to the field of reeds, which, where do we go now? With everything being balanced, we know that the hippo god told him that once you go there, you can live there for eternity in happiness. So I'm assuming we're going to see Marc trying to convince, to go back to the world and to take on Arthur and try to stop Ahmed from coming back and get our, big battle, which I assume to happen next week. What does that mean for Marc? Is Steven no longer there? Is Jake going to take and replace Steven? Is he going to create some other personality to replace Steven? How are we going to end? I don't know, but I have a feeling, I'm just going to be honest, just based on the previous other shows, it's going to be a big battle, but I hope that the emotional resonance stays within next week's finale, because a lot of the finales to me, CGI fest, fight, MCU stuff, the stuff I love, don't get me wrong, especially for someone that's been calling for action this entire series, but now that I'm so emotionally involved and so connected in this narrative, I hope that the action and CGI doesn't over or undercook or underwhelm the emotional resonance that we got from this episode. So I really do hope we get some action, don't get me wrong, but I hope that they still are able to emotionally wrap up this phenomenal emotional story. So that's my thoughts on the episode. Let me know yours in the comments. Pros, cons, thoughts, and theories, and what you all hope to see in the season finale. And we're not getting a season 2, apparently. When will we see Moon Knight again? How will things end? We'll find out next week. Again, just a friendly reminder to check out our full live discussion that we discussed this episode from top to bottom and some other Marvel news. That link of that live stream will be in the description of this video. Thank you again for watching this video. Again, a friendly reminder to like, share, comment, subscribe, and come and join the community. Thank you all for watching this review. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you're staying safe. As you can see on the screen now, come and join the community. Check out that live stream. Check out my other Moon Knight reviews, and we'll catch you all on the next video.